Coming to you live from the White Picket Studios in Houston, Texas, this is the Realty Ruckus. If you are in any way, shape, or form involved in the real estate industry, this is the show for you. And now, your host, Alan Hernandez.
Good morning, Houston. It's good to be with you guys today, Tuesday morning, kicking off a really strong week of August. August is actually one of those months where everybody kind of slows down for some reason in real estate. Everybody kind of just takes a little bit of time off or whatever. They start getting prepared for their kids going to school. I don't really know exactly what the reasons are, but for some reason things seem to slow down in August.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. Is, you know, the kids have to go back to school, and so for everyone else it feels like everything's winding back down.
Well, I can tell you that's the case for us. My kids, my kids, you know, they start school a little bit earlier, I think, than most kids. They go to a private school nearby. They start on the 11th, so that literally my kids are 10 days away from going, you know, back to school. And man, I can't tell you how excited I am about that. Like, I love hanging out with my kids, man. But you know, 2 or 3 months of them being at home and you know, kind of being bored and stuff, it takes a toll on you as a parent, especially when you're like us and you don't have like a full-time nanny or anything like that, you know. Yeah. But you know, this weekend was a cool weekend. You know, we spent a lot of time together. We played Mario 3D World. Have you guys played that before on Wii U?
No, I haven't.
Dude, it's a great game for a family. I actually really like it because we have 4 controllers and all of us will sit down. And, you know, before it was like, oh, you know, my kid was playing Nintendo and we hated it because we didn't get a chance to spend time with him. Now it's like, you can't play Nintendo unless I play too.
Yeah,
and like, we all play.
Alan hated Nintendo just because he didn't get to play.
Yeah, that's why.
Of course, man.
Let's look at the real issues.
I don't want
here.
other people having fun. I want to have fun too. So it was a cool weekend, man. We hung out. We just, you know, we spent a little time together and recovered from going on vacation. Right, I'm still going through recovery mode, man. Like, I went on like 1 week vacation, and I'm still like trying to get back into the groove of things. You know, get back on eating right, because that was the biggest.
Oh yeah, you still trying to get back
problem.
on that?
That was the biggest problem. You know, just going on vacation diet was the worst. And then Brandon talked me into going biking with him yesterday, and got into that. And usually I can outride and outskill the guy, and yesterday he actually kept up, so now I know I'm in real bad shape. So I gotta get it back together, man. You know what's funny though? I was realizing, I was talking to my wife yesterday, and I was telling her about like how BB keeps me from saying like anything out of context or wants me to be politically correct. And I started to do some research, and I realized this world is coming to a place where everything has to be politically correct. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was reading this article yesterday, and I realized I noticed that somebody got sued, or actually somebody sued a restaurant.
Well, no. You're telling it all wrong. You got to set it up right.
Okay, set it up right.
I mean, and so have you guys ever been to Hibachi Grill?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
They're delicious.
Well,
Have you ever actually gone up there and tried to be the hibachi grill master like BB has?
I have.
He
Pretty
sure
cool.
has.
I don't have the skills for that.
Neither did BB.
I tried to do the little one where you spin the egg on the spatula and then flip it, and the egg just went like up in the air and like crash. And
That's exactly the one I pictured in my mind.
There was egg
going wrong.
everywhere.
Yeah.
There was
There's egg yolk everywhere. It was hilarious. So everyone here has been in a hibachi grill.
Everyone loves hibachi.
There's certain things that they do at every hibachi grill. Like they take the butter and they throw it through the air, and the guy yells, "Butterfly!"
Sure.
It's funny, right?
That's hilarious.
So
The volcano.
they take the onion, they
Onions.
stack it up,
Yes.
throw in some oil and some alcohol in there, and light it on fire. And
everybody thinks it's amazing.
Oh, yeah, it's incredible. It's pretty cool. And then there's always the one that got this like little kid.
Little doll.
It's a little doll, yeah, and I guess it's filled with water, oil, or something. I don't know what it has
I've
in
seen
it.
it 1,000 times, man.
But
Water, yeah.
yeah, so they take it, and the doll's pieces.
The doll urinates.
Yes.
To be politically correct, he squeezes it, and the doll urinates into like the volcano or something. And
Well, when he
just, like,
squeezes it, it extends in the place where he would be urinating from.
Yes.
And it squeezes out. And apparently a family went, and they didn't very much like that at the Hibachi Grill. I mean, this has got to have been going on for over 20 years now, Hibachi Grills.
And I'm
It's
sure
like the oldest joke in the book.
every table's doing it.
Yeah. And so this lady gets so offended, she's suing the Hibachi Grill for sexual harassment.
Yes.
Well, apparently the chef playfully squirted some water in her direction. So, and some of the
actually,
water hit her in the face.
Yes, that was what she mentioned. It hit her in the face. But okay, big deal. So then they start doing some research and they find out that the doll doesn't actually have a penis. And that was like one of the defense.
That's like the defense.
That's the defense on the sexual assault, man. You know, it drives me crazy that someone would actually go out of their way, you know, to sue for this. I mean, you went out and you knew what was going to happen. You knew that this was that they were going to do, you know, make jokes and whatnot. Now you're suing over this kind of silliness. But that shows you how you have to be so careful at your workplace. You have to really understand how people think and how people act. So we're going to talk a whole lot about that, because one of the things that we've been finding are companies doing scams. And we want to tell you how to protect yourself against that, especially in the title business, which is part of every transaction.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back. Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join at teamwpr.com. JOIN at teamwpr.com.
Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, David at houseflippingnetwork.com. That's David at houseflippingnetwork.com.
The Realty Ruckus is going to be broadcasting live August 9th at White Picket Realty's Happy Hour. This is an event for you guys to RSVP for and really get ready to ramp up your business. David, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
That's right, Alan. Come grab a cold one and beat the heat with Team WPR. We'll have over 200 plus real estate industry professionals attending. That's private money lenders, wholesalers, realtors, you name it. We'll be at the St. Arnold Brewery on August 9th from 6 to 9 p.m. You can RSVP at whitepickethappyhour.eventbrite.com. Again, that RSVP link is whitepickethappyhour.eventbrite.com. Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express, who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus. David, how's the weather look out there for this week?
Oh, well, today it's going to be 96. It's going to be the high. We have a 20% chance of rain. It's going to be about the same through the rest of the week, except we'll probably be skipping out on those isolated thunderstorms. So if you see one, get under it and get cool.
Oh, man, seriously. Take advantage of that little bit of rain, because it's hot out there. I actually got into my car yesterday, and even with the heat shield thing that I put on, I couldn't even sit in the seat without like
well, like
a
week
skin.
or two ago, my mom's the handle on her trunk was actually melting. The plastic was actually dripping.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
So, you know, usually if you follow our show, or in the last few shows, we've been talking about building your teams, and we're going to get into a little bit more about that later today. But it was interesting that I found an article of something that could happen to all of us. All right. And what I mean by all of us is, if you're a real estate agent, a real estate investor, a loan officer, you name it, you have to deal with a title company. You have to deal with an escrow officer. That's just part of the business. Every transaction that you do should go through a title company. But just imagine this. You decide to go open title, right? You decide to go open title, and you're the buyer, all right? You're buying the property cash. So the title company calls you and says, hey, we're ready to close. Go ahead and wire your funds. And when you get there, they're like, hey, your funds aren't here. Isn't that every buyer's worst nightmare?
Well, yeah, I'd be freaking out.
Yeah, and so they start doing some research, right? This title company in Orlando starts doing some research, and come to find out, the escrow officer runs off with $1.3 million in escrow funds.
$1 million.
Exactly. $1.3 million in escrow funds she runs off with. And imagine the people who had sent their money there to close on their transactions.
So what was she doing? Was it just getting wired back to her own bank account, or?
You know, it doesn't actually tell you how she did it. Obviously, they don't really want people to know that,
yeah,
or how she was taking it out of there. But it stinks because she totally ruins her family's name. So apparently, this family over in Orlando has been doing real estate for a long time, right?
Yeah, and they own I think a title company, a mortgage company as well.
They own a mortgage company. They're real estate agents. They do a lot of business.
They're deep into business.
They're a big mega real estate family in Orlando, and all of a sudden their daughter decides, hey, I'm going to be.
This is the daughter of the
parents who have been in real estate forever.
Yeah.
If you guys want to look this up, it's on the Orlando Sentinel, and so. Yeah, all of a sudden, their daughter decides, hey, I'm just going to take everyone's money that's been wired to our title company account and runs off with $1.3 million. And I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm like, of course the parents or the family is in trouble, but now they're looking for her, and they're probably going to give her some serious jail time. But I'm thinking, man, imagine the pain that the people that are trying to buy a house or sell their house and open title there and we're ready to go close.
Yeah.
What are they feeling? What are they having to go through, and what's going to happen to them? Now they have to potentially go through a lawsuit, or maybe submitting through the Department of Insurance.
If they have that in Florida.
If they have that in Florida, and we don't know that. I know that we've had issues with title companies here in Houston, and we have that protection. We have the Texas Department of Insurance to help us. I'm actually kind of glad we're having this conversation today when Ashley's not here, right?
Yeah. Well, and we didn't want it to sound like a promotion of any single title company on today's show. We just really wanted to make consumers aware because 2010 Dodd-Frank, and that put a lot of consumer protection in.
Yeah.
And then in 2014 they did a lot more regulation for title companies. Yet in 2015, a major name title company, Millennium Title, operating out of Dallas, Texas, the lady comes in and she basically runs the same scam. People wire their funds in. She never puts the funds into the other side, and runs off with about 1.5 million of wired funds.
Yeah.
So this is not an uncommon occurrence.
Apparently, this is happening more and more often. And so, what's scary is that you need to close at a title company. And if you talk to any professional, they're going to advise you to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
No real estate agent should ever say, "Hey, let's just close at your kitchen table." No one should ever do that. Now, I do know investors that sometimes do that, and what happens to those guys? They end up running into serious title issues later.
Yeah, they get liens, and
we've come across some of those guys.
Yeah, I've met people.
I closed on this deal. How did you close on it? Well, I just took a deed and they signed it at the kitchen table. Did you check title policy, or did you pull a title insurance policy? No. Did you check title? No. And all of a sudden, there's a $50,000 lien on this property, and now they don't know how to make money on this transaction. So we've seen that. Okay, so I get it. You have to close a title company, but what are you going to do to protect yourself against that kind of agent that's out there? That
because that's the problem, is that you feel like you're supposed to trust the title company.
Yeah.
They have the name. They're licensed by the Texas Department of Insurance. They typically have an attorney who takes the role of I'm responsible for whatever happens here.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them have big names. I mean, Millennium Title, that's a title company that's all over the state of Texas.
Yeah, and I've seen it.
And for them to have an escrow officer who was stealing funds just blatantly and then ran off and disappeared for a while before they finally found her.
Did they find her already?
Yeah, they found her, and they arrested her. And now everyone is going through the Texas Insurance Recovery Fund.
Which means we're paying for all of the issues.
Basically,
we as taxpayers.
We're footing the bill for her crimes.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. And so this is something that everyone needs to be aware of when they're picking their title company is what do I look for to make sure that I'm getting the right characteristics of the title company? What do I need to be looking at? Who am I looking for? What services do they offer? How are they pricing?
Yeah.
Those are all things you have to consider. It's not just about who's got the big name and the fancy office.
Man, I got to tell you, so in my career thus far, I've only had to file one complaint with the Texas Department of Insurance. And the cool thing about that is that they followed up on it all the way to the end. And even though I got it figured out outside of having to, go through them, that title company actually ended up closing down. And I'm not saying that's cool. I'm saying that you can. I'm saying that when you run into someone who's not running their business properly, you can bet that eventually that kind of scenario could happen. And that's what happened to this guy. He opened one title company and then changed names a few months or a few years later. And then he went through 5 name changes before he ran into me. And I'll tell you guys exactly what happened with this deal, because it's kind of important. It had something to do with rollback taxes and the fact that I got a $10,000 bill after I had closed on the property. We'll talk to you a little bit more about that as soon as we get back. The Realty Ruckus is going to be broadcasting live August 9th at White Picket Realty's Happy Hour. This is an event for you guys to RSVP for and really get ready to ramp up your business. David, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
That's right, Alan. Come grab a cold one and beat the heat with Team WPR. We'll have over 200 plus real estate industry professionals attending. That's private money lenders, wholesalers, realtors, you name it. We'll be at the St. Arnold Brewery on August 9th from 6 to 9 p.m. You can RSVP at whitepickethappyhour.eventbrite.com. Again, that RSVP link is whitepickethappyhour.eventbrite.com. Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, David at houseflippingnetwork.com. That's David at houseflippingnetwork.com.
Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join at teamwpr.com. JOIN at teamwpr.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus, and we're talking about title insurance scams, and how to protect yourself. And you wanted to tell us a story about when you actually had to file a complaint against the Texas Department of Insurance.
Yeah.
So what did that look like, and why did you have to file a complaint?
Well, look, here's the deal. This wasn't an actual scam. This is just something that you as an investor or as a real estate agent will run into from time to time. And I think it's important to bring it up because the way that this title company reacted tells you about why their business is now shut down, why they're not there anymore. So this was about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. We bought a house over in the Brooksmith area, and we bought it from a couple who had been claiming a over 65 exemption on it, right? Now, I don't really know the whole backstory, but I can guarantee you they weren't over 65.
Well, and I think the other issue was that the tax account just didn't exist.
Yes.
There was no tax account on file for like 6 or 7 years. They'd somehow been wrapping it into their neighbor's tax account.
It was a very strange scenario.
Yeah.
Very, very strange scenario. So we, in the process of closing, make sure that they get a tax account set up, and I don't exactly know what the details were, but there had been an exemption on there that they didn't qualify for. And after we close on the transaction, HCAD sends us a letter and says, hey, by the way, you owe us 10 grand. It was like 12 grand total in rollback taxes. And we were like, rollback taxes, man, what are you talking about? We don't like dealing with something called rollback taxes, because that means we got to pay money.
Yeah, that sounds uncool.
It sounds uncool, yeah, and it is uncool because you got to cut a check in order to be able to close on the transaction. So it's really a difficult scenario. So I go to the title company, the fee attorney, and I say, hey, this was something that should have been checked on during the process of underwriting. You should have at least figured out that there was a potential to roll back some taxes and held some money in escrow for that. At least advise the sellers that this could have been a possibility. Did you do that? Well, no. Why didn't you do that? Well, it was a mistake. We'll do it next time. I'm like, all right, well, in the meantime, I need you to cut a check. Here's a bill. Cut a $10,000 check. Go after the sellers and get your money back.
Yeah.
Which is what a good title company would do.
Yeah.
Come to find out, that's what someone that has a good reputation and is willing to stand behind their word. That's what they would have done. You know what this guy tells me? He goes, sue me. And here's the deal. $10,000 is not a large enough amount for you to actually go sue someone for.
Yeah.
Of course, he's an attorney. He knows that, and I know that. I'm not going to go out and hire and pay an attorney 20 or 30 grand to go make $10,000. That makes no sense. Right, so I gotta basically sweep it under the rug and pay the $10,000 or chase down the sellers myself, which really should have been what he was gonna do. Now I ask a couple other title agencies and I run the scenario through them, and they're like, hey man, that's a claim. You can actually you have title insurance for that specific reason. Call and file a claim on it, and so. We did that, and we started the process. And in the meantime, I was advised to call Texas Department of Insurance, which we're going to post a link to Texas Department of Insurance here below. And you can actually file a complaint against any title company regarding any kind of issues that you have. Of course, you want to make sure that you're not just being a troll and nagging over someone missing an email or something. But if it's a problem, if it involves money and you taking a loss, it's definitely a good source, for you to contact and say, hey, Texas Department of Insurance, this guy's being a jerk. He should have, stepped
Well, and
up.
you have to go through a title company. You can't just go and start filing complaints against people who you feel wronged you. It's not a system for that. It is for people. It's when you have a complaint against somebody in the insurance industry. And
Correct.
Title companies are an insurance company. They sell title insurance.
Correct. So anyway, we filed a complaint through them, and Texas Department of Insurance called us and set up a caseworker and whatnot, and they were like, yeah, man, that this was totally wrong, and it ended up developing into a deal where the sellers down the road were like, hey, we don't want any trouble, so here's your money, and we won out. So we ended up closing the case. But I think had it gone all the way through, they would have probably, they should have at least fined the title company for the way that they treated it. They treated the scenario, and I didn't really follow up with it much because again, it was only a $10,000 ordeal. But come to find out, actually just a few weeks ago, the title company ended up shutting down, and it was because they couldn't write a check for $10,000, and maybe they had other scenarios like that where people were coming back and saying, hey, you messed up, you didn't actually check title correctly, you owe me a little bit of money, and they were like, sorry, sue me, and that's not the answer that you want from the title company. I've walked into other title companies and friends of ours that we know and have seen them cut $82,000 checks over a mistake just like that.
Yeah.
Here's a check. I don't want to mess with you. I want a good reputation. I'll go chase down the sellers or whatever. And that's what a real title company should do is make things easier for you, not complicate things, not make things harder.
Yeah.
So, long story short, if you run into a scenario like that, don't freak out. that's the thing. There are good resources out there that can help you. TDI is just one, but it's a major one because that's where everyone's licensed under.
Yeah.
And then following up, talking to the title company at first is probably the best thing to do. But man, when you run into a guy like the one I ran into, who's literally like, hey, take me to court. What else can you do?
That's true. You have to go to TDI. You don't really have a choice.
You don't really have a choice because you're not going to go sue the guy over that. So anyway, that was it. And I think, it's important to talk about, what things you should be looking for in a title company.
How do you avoid those from the get-go?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's hard to do. Like this lady, Nancy Carroll, who disappeared with millions of dollars. Okay, so you would think in Texas everything's a little bit more regulated. There are a few more regulations as far as how title companies work and whatnot.
Well, that's the one thing I would tell people. Very first place to start is when you go to a title company, find out what their title fees are, because title fees are regulated by the state of Texas. So if you get a booklet from them that has fees that don't match up with what the state of Texas says, that's a red flag, major red flag. You need to turn the other way and run.
It's funny because I knew you wanted to talk about this, and I did a little bit of research, and all I did was type into Google things to look for in a title company, and so the top thing that it gives you, the top result, tells you 4 questions to ask your title business. All right, let me show you how bad Google is about giving you good information. So the first question that you should ask your title company, according to this report from WGSF-law.com, is who is your client? Can you imagine walking into a title business and saying, hey, who is your client? They're gonna look at you and think you're like, something's not right. What do you mean, who's my client? I mean, obviously the answer is going to be you. So the second question is, did you conduct thorough title searches? I mean, no, I didn't.
Not.
I didn't conduct a thorough title.
But now
search.
that you've asked me to, I will.
I guess
I'll
I will.
get right on that.
Thank you for reminding me. All right, number 3. Check this out. Is my money safe? That's the third question.
I'm sure if you asked Nancy Carroll, she would have told you yes.
Exactly. All right, number 4. Are your rates approved by the Department of Insurance?
That's not a bad one. I wouldn't ask it in that way. I would just say, what are your fees?
Sure.
And what are you charging for your title policies? I mean, because it is regulated, and if you find someone who's either overcharging or even undercharging, that's not allowed. That's illegal, literally.
Yeah.
And so now you're running into, they might be a little bit cheaper, but somebody who's willing to do fishy activity like that, do you really want to do business with them?
I got to tell you, it's been my experience that cheap doesn't always save you money. Sometimes it ends up costing you a whole lot more.
I agree.
And right now we use a couple title companies who probably are far from being cheap, or the cheaper ones in town. I mean, you can get, as far as escrow fees are concerned, I've seen title companies close each side for $100 to $150. And right now we're paying in the range of $300, and I'm not complaining because I don't have any headaches. And so that's the thing. You may go out there and try to save yourself $200, but how many issues are you going to run into that $200 can't fix?
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the scenario that people don't think about, especially when you're in the industry. If you're a real estate agent, you probably don't worry about this as much because it never comes out of your pocket. You're making your commission regardless. So where it closes, it never really is a problem. And usually as a real estate agent, you pick a title company based on who your friends are.
Yes and no, because you do have to, and that's the other part. When picking a title company, whether you're an investor, a homeowner, one of the big things that you need to look at is the quality of service. What kind of reviews is this title company getting? Are people happy when they go there? Or are they saying that they're having to wait 2 or 3 hours for a closing?
Yeah.
I mean, that's very important. You don't want to have to sit at a title company for 3 or 4 hours. And if you are, you're closing at the wrong title company.
Yeah.
Your title company should be able to give you a time slot and say, you're going to come in at 12, and you show up at 12. And yes, it may give or take 10 minutes, but you go in, you sign, notarize, and you're out the door in less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, I've heard of people sitting there all day waiting to close on their transaction.
That's crazy to
That's
me.
insane.
I don't understand that. I don't
Why
understand
even
who's
schedule
doing
them?
that. Exactly.
What's the point? Yeah, I know. Some of the other things that are really, really bother me that I've run into are just flat out miscommunications or missing of deadlines. When you're in a title business, you can't miscommunicate and you can't miss a deadline.
Yeah.
You can't forget about, when transactions have to close or when you have to send out your disclosures to the buyer. Now with all of these new acts and new regulations in place, you forget to send that disclosure to your buyer, you're basically pushing off the closing and you're potentially ruining the deal.
Yeah.
So if you mess that up, you've already cost somebody a lot of money. you
Yeah,
know?
and again, I think that goes with the quality of service is, are they communicating with you on a regular basis and in a timely fashion?
Yeah.
If you're not getting a response from a title company within 24 hours, they're probably not the right title company for you.
I agree.
I'm not trying to say that title companies should be responding everything within 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, that's awesome if they do. That's incredible. But within 24 hours is pretty acceptable to be responded to by a title company.
So I kept doing some research and I found that the first thing people look for is reputation. But nowadays, reputation is very difficult to figure out who has what.
Yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, Millennium Title, they have a reputation.
Millennium Title
but-
has a good reputation normally. Now it's probably down the drain, but normally you would have probably pulled up Millennium and said, hey, this company's been around for a while. They know what they're doing. They probably have good Google reviews. I don't know. Yelp. Are title companies on Yelp? Probably.
I'm not sure, to be honest with
They
you.
I
probably
wouldn't
are.
think so. That
I
doesn't
mean-
seem Yelp-like.
Doesn't seem Yelp like.
But
Yeah.
I do look at the Google reviews.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are important.
What's crazy is a lot of people take Google reviews and base their entire business off of that. But even with Google reviews, it's not certain that all of those are real. Look at that one person that left us a review, and we could never find who they were or
Oh yeah, the
or
people
what.
leave fake reviews. That's for sure.
So just so you guys know, somebody left us a fake review a few years ago, and it was like a 1-star review, and we were like, hey, what happened? What's the deal? And we went on there and we tried to contact the person. Hey, what transaction was it, or what are you talking about? What is this? Where did this come from? We never found out. So it turned out to be just a fake Google account and someone who was just, I guess, trying to give us a bad rep. We couldn't find a way to take it off. So in the long run, we left it on there and we just overlooked it and just forgot about it eventually. But even reputation is hard to figure out unless you actually know other people that are closing at the title company and are having good experiences, in my opinion. That can actually vouch for it. Anyway, we have a couple other things that I think we should be looking for in the title business to help you avoid some of these bad situations that we've run into and that others are running into. We'll talk about that and more as soon as we come back.
The Realty Ruckus is going to be broadcasting live August 9th at White Picket Realty's Happy Hour. This is an event for you guys to RSVP for and really get ready to ramp up your business. David, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
That's right, Alan. Come grab a cold one and beat the heat with Team WPR. We'll have over 200 plus real estate industry professionals attending. That's private money lenders, wholesalers, realtors, you name it. We'll be at the St. Arnold Brewery on August 9th from 6 to 9 p.m. You can RSVP at whitepickethappyhour.eventbrite.com. Again, that RSVP link is whitepickethappyhour.eventbrite.com. Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, David at houseflippingnetwork.com. That's David at houseflippingnetwork.com.
Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join at teamwpr.com. JOIN at teamwpr.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus. And I want to finish our discussion that we've been having about how to pick the right title companies, how to stay away from these scam artists that are out there. And there's just a few more items that we wanted to bring up before we jump into talking about teams and finish our conversation on teams.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that I thought was something that everyone should look for is reputation. But like I mentioned, even reputation right now is hard to find. It's not just based on Google reviews anymore, because anyone can make up a Google account and go in there and say good or bad things about any company nowadays. So a lot of it has to actually come from word of mouth, which is why I like dealing with people who are active on social media, who are active on out doing vendor events, who have a face and a reputation to uphold, because if they do something wrong, they know they're going to get called out. And we've seen that happen. Somebody in the title company messes up, and some investor will go out there, or some real estate agent will say, hey, don't deal with this person, they just did this and this and that, and now the title company either has to correct it or deal with the consequences. And so in my opinion, that's some one of the ways that you can definitely find a good one is, who are your friends closing with? Who are the other professionals closing with? Are they happy with the service? Who cares? Go over there and talk to them. Any title company is willing to do it. And that's the thing. It's not just about what kind of cookies and chips they serve on their front desk. And I get that sometimes. It's like, oh, I love closing here. Why? Well, have you been to their to their reception area?
Fresh Otis Spunkmeyer
and it's like, yeah,
cookies.
Those are pretty good.
Amazing cookies, but can they close a deal? Other things I like to look for is, do they have an in-house attorney? There's title companies out there that are just small teams, and their attorney is like out in Dallas or something.
Yeah.
And then you need paperwork drawn up, or you need something happening, and this attorney's got 4 little teams throughout the state, and he can't handle all the workload. So your paperwork will come back a week and a half late, and you're thrown under just a stack of papers. You're just another pile there.
And how can you find out if they have an in-house attorney?
You just got to ask. You got to ask your escrow officer, do you have an in-house attorney that can help me put docs together?
And you want to make sure they're actually in-house.
Yeah. You want them there.
Yeah.
You want them there. And I also like to find attorneys, in-house attorneys that are versed at different types of transactions. We dabble in a lot of investment properties, so I don't want to go to one title company to close my retail stuff and then to another company to close my investment stuff. If I want to do a subject to transaction, I want to just call the same company, the same person, and be like, hey, I just need you to drop some subject to docs. And I don't want them to have to go out and figure it out and scurry up and drop something together and possibly make it illegal, because you have to be careful in doing these different types of transactions. The documents have to be done right, and it has to be done by an attorney.
Yeah.
Your escrow officer playing attorney is not going to cut it. So I like to make sure that those title companies that we work with know those type of things. I also like them to have power with the underwriters. I want them to be able to make a phone call to the underwriter and say, hey, you missed this, or can we look over this? Can we look past this little
Which
tiny
has
issue?
happened to us
That's
before.
happened to us.
One of the fee attorneys that we work with actually has said, look, let me call the underwriters because they wouldn't approve it because of an easement. And,
right.
and there was an encroachment in the easement. And he literally called the underwriter and he said, I'll take it.
Yep.
If anything happens with this one, I'll take it, and don't even worry about it. And that takes a lot of power to be able to call an underwriter and do that.
To call the underwriter and say, you know what, if anything comes up, I'll take the hit for it.
Yeah.
I need you to approve this transaction. Had he not done that, we wouldn't have been able to close on that transaction.
No, that transaction wouldn't have closed.
And that was in 2014 when we closed that transaction. That was one of the bigger paydays we had that year.
Oh, yeah.
So imagine
absolutely.
that transaction not closing. That would have been horrible for us.
Yeah.
So power with the underwriters is good. I like them to have good relationships with lenders, and understanding if your title company has good relationships with lenders is just knowing if they have a good relationship with you and your clients. If they're able to communicate well, if they're able to send you an email once a week giving you the status of things, if they're able to keep you on track on your closing. We have a closing coordinator here in the office to just help us stay on top of our files. But that's also partly, that's also part of what the title company should be doing, helping you stay on top of everything that you have closing and making sure that, things are moving along correctly.
Which
Just
you want to
bouncing.
make sure they have plenty of escrow officers, and if not escrow officers, at least assistants for their escrow officers.
That kind of leads me to making sure that they have the right team.
Okay.
And it's okay. Fine, you're a fee attorney and you want to play title company. I mean, I just got a call yesterday from an attorney who's like, hey, I'm opening a title business. Great friend of ours, great attorney. But I don't know anything about the way that the title company is set up. It's not like, all right, well, here's 10 transactions. Help me close those. I need to understand if those transactions can and will close, who the team is, what they, how they're structured. And if I send you over 10 or 20 transactions, I want to know that you can close them.
Yeah.
And I want to know that you don't just want the $200,000 or $300,000 deals. I want you to take the good with the bad. Which if you remember, we've had title companies who have come in here and
they'll come in here and they'll court you.
Yeah.
Let me buy you lunch. Let me take you out. Close your deals with me.
Mm-hmm. And
you send them over a deal, and they do an okay job. So then you send them over another one, and let's say the first one's $200,000-300,000.
Yeah.
Then you send them over that $80,000 or $90,000 condo, and they're like, why don't you take this to another title company?
I actually had that happen. That same scenario actually happened.
I hate that.
That
I hate
happened,
that.
and it happened recently, and it was from someone who kept coming into the office, and their marketing strategy was to bring us, I don't know, pens or something, and it was a I don't know if I should say this because I want to be politically correct, but it was like coming in here and giving us very, very tight hugs. Is that politically correct enough? And we were like, is this really someone we want to deal with? And
You tight hug giver.
you tight hug giver, you. And finally we were like, fine, we'll send you a transaction to close. And yeah, like BB said, it went fine. Second one was it was a lower end condo, and that's literally what they told us. I'm sorry, we can't handle these transactions. And we were like, why? Well, because we just don't make any money on them. Okay, I get it, but if you want my business, you got to take the good with the bad.
I agree. If you want to be the go-to title company,
You want me to send you $1 million house to close? You also have to close my $50,000 or $60,000 condo, which I need to be able to take somewhere. Just because you don't make enough money on it doesn't mean I don't want to close it, and now I got to go find a title company just to close my junk. That doesn't make sense.
No, and the problem is the title company that wants to just close your junk. There is no title company. They don't exist.
No.
That title company doesn't exist. So the title company who's going to be your go-to has to be willing to go and take the good with the bad. And
with the bad.
Every now and then there's going to be the major $1 million transactions, and then you're going to have a couple of $50,000, maybe even $30,000 transactions. It doesn't matter.
Crazy. And for the first time ever in our investment career, we closed a bunch of like $50,000 or $60,000 condos last year. Do you remember doing a bunch of those?
Yeah, we did.
And that was one of the hardest things about it was finding a title company that was willing to do it. And it was us trying to give some of these other title companies the opportunity to close some of those and realizing how silly some of them are. They just want the big transactions. And what did we end up doing? We ended up just sticking to good old faithful and sending them to all to someone that we trust, that's been there closing all of our deals for years, and it just makes sense for us to just not mess with that anymore because it was a waste of time sending those out to anyone else.
Oh, I know. After we had that experience where we had title companies coming in like once every other week, and you feel guilty, so you send them the one transaction at least to see what's their service going to be like. And I remember when we got done giving them all a chance, we sat in here and we were like, look, we don't care if they bring lunch. We don't care if they bring cupcakes.
or give us extra tight hugs.
Or extra tight hugs. We just don't want to work with them.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to go back to the company where they treat us well, and they don't complain about those transactions. I think that's a huge part of it.
You know, if you're in the investor world, what happens if you're a real estate agent, you're like, I don't really want to deal with $50,000 to $80,000 transactions because you don't make any money.
Yeah.
You don't. But those little $50,000 or $60,000 condos that we did last year, some of those were big money makers for us.
Yeah, they were.
We on some of those we were clearing $10,000, $15,000 in wholesale fees or assignment fees, and we needed to close them. We wanted to close them, and we wanted to close them fast. And not having someone that was willing to do it and not just throw it under a stack of papers just because it wasn't a big enough transaction. It was sad to see that that's part of the business. That's part of something you run into.
Yeah.
Again, that leads me into having a good team in place, because part of the reason why that happened is because these companies didn't have the right team. The escrow officer that we were assigned to wasn't happy to say, hey, yeah, fine, I'll take it. I'm going to show you how I can do a great job with these, but send me another one of those $300,000 or $400,000 ones when you get a chance.
Yeah.
Whenever you get a chance.
And if you do it, then I'll come over and I'll give you an extra tight hug. That's kind of how those work, man. It's crazy. So anyway, we want to make sure that you guys are making some right decisions out there. Make sure that you drop your comments down below, and don't forget that you can also check us out on YouTube. And YouTube is a little bit better way to watch our show.
It is. YouTube gets a little bit better sound. It has a higher quality video. It's easy to comment on there, and you can always rewatch the replays.
Not only that, you can subscribe on YouTube.
Yes, that's very
important.
important.
And it sends you a little reminder every time we're going to go live.
Yeah.
And then if you miss it, it'll actually pop up later, and you can watch it later.
Yeah, I'll send you an email, remind you that the new episode is out.
And then also you can live tweet us at Realty Ruckus.
Yes.
Very
simple.
Live tweet, which I still haven't figured out how to do. I have to get serious with my Instagramming and my tweeting, man.
Instagramming?
My Instagramming, man. Anyway.
I guess that's what you call it.
All right, guys. We'll be right back. We have some other stuff to talk about and some other cool events to let you know about. The Realty Ruckus is going to be broadcasting live August 9th at White Picket Realty's Happy Hour. This is an event for you guys to RSVP for and really get ready to ramp up your business. David, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
That's right, Alan. Come grab a cold one and beat the heat with Team WPR. We'll have over 200 plus real estate industry professionals attending. That's private money lenders, wholesalers, realtors, you name it. We'll be at the St. Arnold Brewery on August 9th from 6 to 9 p.m. You can RSVP at whitepickethappyhour.eventbrite.com. Again, that RSVP link is whitepickethappyhour.eventbrite.com. Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, David at houseflippingnetwork.com. That's David at houseflippingnetwork.com.
Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join at teamwpr.com. JOIN at teamwpr.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
And we are back on the Ruckus. We want to talk to you guys about teams. We want to jump back into that conversation. We had the NAREP event last week where they told us a lot about why it's important to have a team. And then we looked at some of the things from NAR where they were saying, well, these are the things that'll make your team fail.
Yeah.
But they left out some things that are really important that you will run into. and that we think is important if you are trying to build a team,
Yep.
that you are aware of these things, because I wish somebody would have told me about them before we went through them.
Yeah, I mean, we've run into those pitfalls, actually all of those pitfalls that were mentioned over the last few years, and I think it's important to hear it from someone that's gone through it recently. You know, a lot of these people out there who have built these mega teams and whatnot, they've been around for 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
They may not remember what it was like to hire their first assistant. I do, you know. I know what it was like, and I remember what it was like to have, you know, an assistant come in here and work with me for a day and then quit the next day. And that wasn't
You were that bad, huh?
That wasn't that long ago. You know, I know what that's like. You know, I know what it's like to bring in someone that you think is good for your team, and all of a sudden they spoil the well. You know,
Yeah.
they become a rotten apple. They become bitter, and then everyone starts feeling the same way just because they carry that energy. And so those are really hard lessons we've had to learn. And if we can share some of those with the people out there who are now thinking of building their teams or getting started in the business and thinking a little bit ahead, then you know what, that helps a lot of people, man. Every person that I've ever talked to that is mega successful, one of the things I always want to ask is, hey man, what would you do if you could go back and do it again? You know, that's always one of the questions that I always try to bring up, especially in like any of these mastermind groups or anytime I'm hanging out with like the board of directors from NAREP. You know, everyone in that board is a mega player, closing 300-400 transactions a year.
Yeah.
You know, and so I get a chance to sit there and pick their brain, and then they pick my brain on other stuff. You know, but I get a chance to say, hey, what would you change? And everyone's response is always, I wish I would have started my team sooner. I wish I would have hired someone sooner. I wish I would have, you know, gotten help sooner. Everyone goes through the process of starting their business and saying, I'm going to do it all. I'm going to be the web developer. I'm going to be the developer for pretty much everything. I'm going to be the design guy. I'm going to be the marketer. I'm going to be the guy that closes the transaction. I'm going to be the guy that shows the houses. I'm going to be the guy that writes the contracts. I'm going to be everything. And you're like,
You have to in the beginning.
You have to.
Yeah. And you have to understand
You have
what
to at
all
least
those roles are.
learn
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
Learn how to do it. Yeah, you're right. Because if you don't learn to do it, how do you teach it?
Exactly.
Right? Or you join a team and become part of a team and then learn it that way. You know,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how we work. You know, you can be part of our team and we'll do all of that, or most of that at least, for you. But you still have to learn to do it if you want to go out and hire your own assistant, or if you want to hire even a VA. You know, how are you going to train your VA to do it?
Yeah, I agree.
So because of that, you know, we want to make sure that you guys know some of this stuff, and we have some really cool events planned for you guys in the next few months, and we're going to release the dates shortly as soon as they're finalized to make sure that we can teach you guys all of this stuff, and I mean literally give you the nuts and bolts, not just tell you about our awesome experiences and the things, you know, the places we've lost money, but give you the nuts and bolts on how to avoid these kind of things. You know, one of the major mistakes we made is not hiring to the culture. If you think about that,
That's very true.
think about that.
Yeah.
And if you look at like huge companies like Google, what makes them so successful? It's they hire to a culture.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Alan. How did you guys go about finding out what that culture was, or forming it to get in the right mindset to hire those people?
You know, it's crazy. It's a trial and error for us. For us, it literally has been a trial and error, and looking at what type of people we feel will be successful in this business, and then categorizing them based on something that's measurable. In this case, we did a personality assessment. And I don't know if you guys know about personality assessments, but if you're hiring for a team and if you're bringing people on and you're paying them to do something for you, that might be one of the best ways for you to actually know if that person fits the mold or not.
Yeah, well, that tells you if it fits the mold, but that doesn't tell you culture fit. A culture fit is more, what is a person like?
Yeah.
Who is that person? And you're just not going to know that unless you have a rigorous interview process.
Mm-hmm.
You need to bring these people in not once, not twice. They have to come in multiple times. I know people like Dave Ramsey even recommend going out with their spouses,
Yeah.
and getting to know who their spouses are, because That tells you a little bit more about what they're like in their private life.
Who was one of the NARA board members? I think said
Yeah.
Ozzy Ramirez is his name,
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah, he said he goes and does the spouse dinner. They don't like the. I think he worded it a little bit different. Basically, if the wife is, or the husband's intolerable, or you just can't hang out with him, then they're not hiring that person.
Think about that. Think about how important the spouse plays. What kind of role the spouse plays in your work atmosphere.
Well, especially in an environment like this where everyone is, most everyone gets paid straight commissions.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of pressure to get out there, work, and make money.
Yeah.
And so that person's spouse is not supportive of them and keeps telling them, oh, you should quit and go back to your old job.
Yeah, here's a scenario. You're sitting in front of someone who's like, hey, look, I really want to work for your company. And you're like, all right, great. Let's go out and have some dinner. Make sure you bring your spouse. I want to make sure that, that your family can fit with our family. Because, that's how we treat this, like a family.
Yeah, it does affect the whole family.
And it affects the whole family. So, okay, fine, they agree. And you're sitting in front of this agent, and her husband or his wife says, I've been telling him or her to quit this stupid job for years, and I don't know why he's not listening. Is that someone you really want on your team? Think about that.
Unfortunately, they may be a good fit.
Yeah.
But if they've got that negativity just lingering behind them, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing you have to look at. Another thing that I would look at, talking directly about the person that you're interviewing, is there's a difference between desperation and hunger.
Yes.
And I hear people say all the time, I want someone who's hungry. Yeah. But sometimes you wind up hiring someone who's desperate.
Yeah. People that I'm willing to do anything, start me at the bottom, and they're just desperate to get some type of pay or get in some type of role.
Exactly. And so that's one thing that we always look at is in a commission job especially, what kind of reserves does that person have?
Yep.
Because if you're bringing on somebody who has nothing.
Yeah. They're out on the street almost.
Then all they're doing is just chasing that paycheck. They need that paycheck so badly that they never take the time to set their business up correctly.
Correct.
Or to even allow you to help them set their business up, because their mindset is, I gotta get paid. I gotta get paid.
That's right.
And that's really detrimental to a business. That not only hurts them, but it goes into the rest of the team. The rest of the team's like, man, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah. Well, they're not thinking clearly, and that's the problem. Is when you're only thinking, I got to make my next paycheck, regardless of the circumstance or regardless of how or who or any of that.
Yeah.
You don't make rational decisions, and that's when you become the guy that goes out there and steals a house from grandma because you need it. You need it. You need to be able to cover your bills or pay your whatever. So, you're absolutely right, and we have dodged some huge curveballs by just having that rule, because we get people in here all the time. I want to get on the team, and they want to disguise it when they're in here. They want to disguise it as, look, I'm hungry, man. I'm gonna do it all. I'm gonna whatever you tell me to do. I'll go out and fly. And what happens is they come in here, and the same roadblocks they've run into outside of here, they'll run into here, and here we are trying to help them, but they can't get past their own thinking, their own mentality, and then they look for someone to blame it on. Oh, it's your fault that I haven't made the money that I wanted to make. You know what I mean? It's like, no, it's not. It's the fact that you haven't been able to clearly think this out. So yeah, definitely going with that.
And then going back to culture fit, I think it's important that the people that you're bringing on your team have the same work ethic. And what I mean by that is, are they willing to put in the same amount of time and do the same amount of work as everyone else on the team? Because if everyone else on your team is man, I'm here until I get my stuff done and then I go home, that's one thing. But then if you have some people who you bring on that are like, at 4 o'clock or at 5 o'clock, that bell rings and I'm like, I'm out of here.
And I won't pick up my phone, and I won't return an email, and I won't return anything, because that's it. I'm out.
Yeah, and that's going to frustrate the other people on the team.
I run into realtors outside of here all the time that think that way. They think they can clock out of the business.
Well, and it all depends on what's the culture in your office, because if you have that culture in your office that, hey, everyone goes home at 5, turn off your phones. But if you have the culture in your office that, hey, we're open basically 24 hours.
Yeah.
We're here to serve. But you have to establish that culture. What do you want as a team leader? And then go out and find the right people.
That's true.
Because the guy who wants to work all night is eventually going to look at you. If you've got the culture of, I leave here at 5 o'clock every day, and he's here till midnight, eventually he's going to say, I don't want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have the same work ethic as they do.
That's true.
So I think it is important to know what is your work ethic and establish who I'm going to bring in based off of that.
But to answer your question, it's you determining up front what your culture should be and what it should look like and what it should feel like. And if you think about it, you know, we've even gone out of our way to literally even put it on a big poster.
Yeah, we have it in banners in the back.
And put it on, you know, a big giant banner and plaster it in our pit, because that's what we want to have around. Those are the type of people that we want. And if you don't fit that mold, if you're not looking, you know, for the things that we're looking for, then it's not that you are a bad person. It's just that you're a better person somewhere else. And I think just setting those things up for us has made a huge difference, a big impact. And you know, we can. I was just telling one of the board members about this. With a handful of agents, we can do the same amount of production that Joe Schmo down the road with 42 agents is doing. And look at that. I mean, that shows you the world of difference. Anyway, we are about done. We're gonna be actually, we are done.
Yeah, we're out of time.
Wow.
Not about done.
Wow. I mean, the time flies when you're doing this. Guys, don't forget that we're going to be back on here on Friday. We're going to have Ashley Patton here again, our resident title attorney. And you know, he's probably going to answer more questions on everything we talked about today, as well as cover some of your other legal questions. Don't forget that you can drop your legal questions for Friday down below into the comments, and we're more than happy to answer them for you. We're more than happy to help you close your transactions, help you close your business. That's what this show is about. We want to help you grow. So don't forget to join us Friday, 10 a.m. Thanks again for being with us at the Realty Ruckus.
We'll see you on Friday.
Been the Realty Ruckus. Make sure and join us every Tuesday and Friday for new episodes. Find us on YouTube and Facebook for replays of previous episodes. And as always, keep elevating yourself and keep up your ruckus. Thanks for listening. Realty Ruckus has been brought to you by Smart Pig Media Productions.